Hi there, I'm Adam Kirvas, and this is my novel Night Out. I've left Sherry, weeping. I could not help her. I could not say her, soothe her. This is difficult because nothing you can say, nothing you can do will bring back Ellie, her daughter. I got permission from Sherry to go into Ellie's room to analyze, because you need to know the person, you need to know the character of the person in order to find out the friends and as well as people who might want to hurt Ellie, because we have statistics which indicate that mostly, especially when it comes to violent crimes, that killer and victim actually know each other or knew each other or are in a way or another related, maybe friends, family, you never know. And the character of a victim could indicate the murderer, if you can see it. So I walk into Ellie's room, and what I see is pretty much similar to Ellie's room in Lydia's and Melinda's apartment. It is still youth-like, so I assume that Ellie probably left this place right before she went to college. That Ellie's room is stuffed with books, and it indicates a normal development of a child. There are all sorts of things at globe, but books which are not only child books but as well as adult books, which again shows the gradual development of a child. And we all assume, especially parents assume, that their children will grow like flowers grow from a small seed. They more and more grow and become self-sufficient and smart. But one immediately sees on the wall papers and on the interior design that here someone lived who put a lot of emphasis on wit. This is pretty much evident. And even though here in Ellie's room in her youth there is no indication or signs of snobism like that you buy expensive clothes, Versace and so on, but there is a clear perception of someone who paid great emphasis on wits and who did a lot to garner knowledge which drives the world. Knowledge is power, many philosophers would agree, but in a way one immediately notices one thing, and this is pretty much protruding. First, it is all neat. You would actually assume, well, this is a bit too neat, as if someone would like to make them appear as if everything would be great, as if everything would be fine, a facade, a shape you want people to see, of course, because the book stakes is in order. You could really see that it was ordered in a way that indicates that someone paid great emphasis on structuring. This would mean paid great emphasis on structuring knowledge. For example, if you see in the book stakes that books are ordered from youth books to adult content from years, this is actually not quite common, especially not quite common among intellectuals, because for an genuine intellectual who does not care about shapes and matters but about knowledge itself, it is pretty much secondary how the books look like and how they are ordered. It is rather how much they can gain from it. But here in Ali's room, you can pretty much perceive that everything around here has to be in a special spot, as if it was confined and nothing whatsoever was changed from that spot. So I look behind the furniture. You could see, especially through the years, the sunlight and other influences, some sort of mark the furniture, mark the very spot of furnitures on the wall. You can see that some parts, especially if a furniture has been staying and leaning against the wall for years without end and was never moved, that you can see some sort of spot, or if you want the place or the area, the walls have not been subjected to the seasons, summer to summer hotness, to summer light, and as well as winter to freezing cold and so on. So you can see these places behind the walls and so on. And I looked at it and I immediately recognized that Ellie did not move her furniture. So she probably bought or was given booksticks for her in the past, and she probably filled them or was obliged to fill them. This could be an indication that Ellie probably saw knowledge as a means of possession, something you have, and this room, in a way, is partially in a contrast to her room she had with Melinda and Lydia in the city, because you cannot detect a snobism. You would not assume that someone who puts great emphasis on wits and knowledge would then put as well as great emphasis on designer clothes, because you pretty much assume, and this is very common among smart and intellectual people, that they do not put great emphasis on appearance, because through knowledge, and the more you gather, you more and more grasp and understand that the world around you and the world you see is nothing but a trifle to the world in your brain. That in your brain, in your imagination, that there is a whole different world, and that you in the reality cannot grasp or see, for that matter. You cannot see, hear and feel this complexity. Like imagine fantasy. Imagine you have seen Game of Thrones and all these fantasy worlds. Your mind or the reality does not really grasp this magic, if you want, or if you are into Harry Potter, this mind, or the normal mind, or the normal reality you see, you are surrounded with, has no indication whatsoever to the magic world, to the world of your imagination. This is one of the reasons why many intellectuals, but as well as dreamers who live in a different world, who understand themselves in a different world, put secondary emphasis on appearance. You would assume that. So in Alice's room, if you compare the rooms from her youth to the room which happened thereafter, you some sort of get the notion that Ellie probably, in a way, put emphasis on appearance. It looks that way, and in addition to that, she lived with people who were not from her social background, which is very unusual. Sometimes people do this. Sometimes there are indeed men and women who like to surround themselves with people who are not from their social background either, especially if they want to some sort of get friends and get acquainted in the upper social ladder so that they want to have access into the upper social classes. They try to befriend people from the upper social classes so that they might open and extend their horizon. But as well as there are people who like to have friends from a lower social class, especially people who some sort of admire them, appreciate them, or whatever they can gain from them. Some sort of a subordinate, if you want, a subordinate who reveres someone. This is as with women. Some women feel comfortable when they have female friends who are not that attractive or who are not as attractive as they are, so that they shine out and protrude if they are, and if they walk in a bar or among people, so that they can some sort of elevate their self-esteem. This is quite common actually, but it is not common among intellectuals. And Ellie's life choices so far indicate that she was a little bit superficial, to say the least. She probably put great emphasis on looks. She exercised, as well as she lived with people with whom she couldn't have had anything in common. Firstly, they did not went to college with her, and secondly, they have Lydia and Melinda have diabetes. This would mean that Ellie could not share anything with them. She could not walk out with them because having diabetes is always something you feel uncomfortable with, especially if you are around people who do not have diabetes. Of course, it could be that Ellie did not know that her roommates have diabetes. This is very common as well, because diabetics, they don't want people to know. They put actually a great emphasis to hide and great effort to hide their disease. And this goes so far even that many politicians and many celebrities have some sort of created an alter ego where they assume and pretend that they would not be sick, that they would not have diabetes. Many people would be surprised how many celebrities and how many politicians have actually diabetes, but all these years pretended that they would not have. It could be that Ellie did not know about all this stuff, so that she probably was only looking for a place to be. But one thing you have to ask yourself then, why didn't she stay at home? It would have been cheaper. She had a new job, she bought a new car, she lived fancy, one would assume, and she could have stayed at home as well. So why didn't she stay at home? But why did she prefer to live in the city, pay rent there? So these are all questions. But you can see in the room as well that here someone lives, you could assume, probably had very success in school, and therefore succeeded in life. And you ask yourself, what does success in school depends on? What is it that makes children and youth successful? Well, it is partially about the system. This is true, how the school works, that you have to grasp and understand knowledge and get to know knowledge, which means to work with knowledge. You have to be in a certain way. You have to be able to perceive knowledge in a certain way so that you are successful in the school. And this would mean if you're a child, then you have to be rather someone who is capable repeating and reiterating knowledge. So it is smarter in the school system as it is right now, not to ask whether you can use this in your real life, whether you can use knowledge in your real life. No, this is not what this is all about. No, you rather ask yourself, how can I learn it more proficiently? How can I learn it more easily? This is the first thing. So this is not knowledge which is imminently applicable outside the school. No, this is our own system. This is our own thought group. School is an own thought group with its own rules, with its own languages, and with its own structure. And many, as well as some, fail to integrate in this structure. Alice's twin sister Donna did not attend college. However, but the second thing is that in the school system, it depends a lot on the teacher. Why? Because a teacher is an authority. It is not only an authority within the school system. No, it is through the dominance a teacher has in the school system that many children are emotionally dependent from a teacher, like he would be a parent or something. And in some cultures, let's say in the Middle East, teachers are being considered not only parents, but sometimes even above parents, so that they would know the best and they would care for their children the best. However, out of this reason why children spend so much time in school and so much time around teachers, they get emotionally attached to them. That's why a teacher has huge influence on the mental and psychological development of a child, especially through approval and chiding. So if a teacher approves certain behavior of a child, he can lift this child's emotion and spirit. And if he chides him, and if he chides the child out of no reason, scolds him out of no reason, or worse, is even a very sadistic teacher who likes to enjoy torturing mentally as well as physically torturing his children or his pupils, then this has a severe effect on their children because of the emotional significance of the child. So those children who are successful in school and in life later on, because the structure you learned in school are applicable outside the school as well, those teachers and those pupils and later adults who have been successful in school mostly had a good relationship to their teachers. Well, it may be that even though you say that a teacher has to be objective, has to be some sort of treat everyone equally, well, this is not very likely that it is. And those who went to school, they are well aware that teachers in a way always have some pets, as if they are called the teacher's pet, and these are pupils and students whom the teachers like most and whom they approve more openly or support more openly. And those pupils, they of course seek the approval of the teacher because of the authority the teacher has in the school system, the great authority, as well as through emotional bondages, because even though your parents are the closest to you, especially in your initial and in your formative years, your parents are your world, your mother, your father, they are your surroundings. But once this child goes to school and is around other pupils and his own kind and is around a teacher who has this emotional authority over children as well as pupils, then things change. Then the teacher as well has huge influence in the development of a child, in the psychological development of a child, and then approval can do a lot. Or scolding if a teacher destroys some pupil, destroys his or her confidence. This has as well as a huge effect on every pupil. And it could be, and is likely, that some teachers, because they approved, because they supported some students and pupils more than others, that those pupils who have been supported feel some sort of, or associate learning and knowledge with something not to do for yourself, so you do not get knowledge and learn things for yourself, so that you some sort of open up your horizon, or that you some sort of gain a much better view and understanding from the world. No, you garner knowledge because you want the acknowledgement of someone. You want to please someone, get his love, and so on. So this could be as well. So that knowledge in that sense does not serve you anymore, but only serves in a way the purpose of gaining acceptance, of gaining the love either of your teacher but as well as of your parents, because some parents want the most of their children, and they push sometimes their children to the extreme. Imagine those parents who are in a way invested in sports, and they want their children to become sportmen or sportwomen as well. Then of course such a parent will approve any behavior whatsoever of the child, which in a way puts him on the pathway of his parents' wishes. So, and this child sooner or later will associate love, or the way he can gain love through exercising, through doing what the parent want, and through appeasing what the parent want, and will try everything to avoid being scolded, being frowned upon, or being debased and degraded by their parents. This could be a development which was probably reasonable with Ellie, because you see that for Ellie, superficial appearances was very important. It may be as well as that she probably met other people. Of course, it could be possible, but the room, Ellie's room in your youth, and how things are arranged indicate a lot that here lived someone who put a great emphasis on appearance and probably get approval through appearance, how everything has to be structured. This is what school is as well. You could now claim what these structures in school, they do not help anyone at all. They make people rigid, but the entire society as well as the economy, this is where success is measured. Whether someone is successful or not is firstly, of course, being measured in the school. Whether someone can, in a way, adapt to a behavior, because this is all what it is. Life is all about adaptation. Whether someone in school can adapt to a behavior and go along with the system and succeeds through the system. And for this you need a lot of stamina. This is all what it is. It is not partially of wits, but mostly school is about stamina, and whether you can go through it, and whether you can work on cue. This is what all these exams are all about. You prepare yourself in advance, and then you can work on cue. So in real life, when you have to work on cue for example, though there was an unforeseen error, there was an unforeseen issue, you couldn't have prepared yourself for it. It happened at once, and there again you have to be able to gather all your knowledge on cue and deal with the issue, whether if it is in business, whether if it is in a relationship, what have you. This is what this is all about, to be able to act on cue, and this is what is pretty much taught in school, so that you structure yourself, that you are being able to work in society in a certain way, in a society, in order to be able to work with others as well. So it is not only about you, it is not only about ego. School, in the most cases, if it is not sadistic, and if it is not only aimed to isolate some, pretty much teaches you a way. This is not the way, but one way how a group, or how a big group of people can actually work with each other. One would say, there is the need of a leader, there is the need of one teacher who tells these pupils what to do, and then they follow these instructions. Well, we have it the same in society. Maybe in the future people will figure out another way how to lead a group, how to work in a group, but it is unlikely that in a group of 20 everyone is independent and everyone is a leader. At least one or two have to say, or have to steer the group in a certain direction. Because what life is not about an attempt. School is not about an attempt. Working is not about an attempt. Having a relationship is not about an attempt, but it is about success. It is about a result, and this is why you, and these things you learn through school. It may be not the best and exact way to do things, but right now it is the best we have. However, it is likely, therefore, that Ellie developed some sort of a superficial approach to knowledge, her neatness, her will to be the good girl, to exercise, to do everything that is needed, even though she has left school, and even way after school, she's still some sort of internalized this love, this feeling she always gets. This is what children and later adults have some sort of in their blood. If they were always approved in, and if they were always get acknowledged and love for a certain behavior, then some sort of a value around this behavior develops. A value, some call it conscience. This means if you do something, if you, for example, act like the good girl, if you have everything neat, if you structure everything as you have learned it in school, even though your teacher is not around, you have some sort of a feeling of pleasure, as if you have done something good. This is what many people later on internalized their behavior, their structure. So this means if a teacher approved you for always helping everyone, or for always treating everyone with respect, later on, if you are a grown adult and if you have some sort of internalized this behavior and this approval, then if you help other people, if you support them, you feel some sort of joy and happiness in your life, as if you have done something good. So this love then comes out of yourself. This is a self-love that helps you and that supports you and that in a way elates you. I'm thoughtful, but still here with Ellie in this case, there are a lot of issues which doesn't add up. And one huge issue is that Ellie most certainly had a secret life. Her mother, Sherry, did not know anything about Ellie having a boyfriend. It would be if one looks at in Ellie's room here, and as well as in Lydia's and Melinda's apartment, one immediately grasped that Ellie probably would have had a boyfriend which would in a way fit in this entire scheme. So he's white, he's probably from a good family, he's educated and from the middle class. The neatness of this room and the room she has in the city pretty much indicates that. So she's some sort of is a petit bourgeois. But I'm not satisfied with this solution or with this explanation. There are a lot of things that are still out in the open. I move further and I want to see Donna's apartment, because the contrast can really help you to understand how those two siblings and twin sisters actually went along. And there I realized that Donna's room is quite the contrast. Donna's room is a lot. There are on the walls, there are no pictures and no wall papers of smart people. There is no wallpaper of Albert Einstein, and there are no wall papers, and there are no books. So if you see and look into Donna's rooms, you get no indication whatsoever that someone here reads actually anything or puts any emphasis on books, on knowledge. No, what you see on the walls are a lot of wallpapers of emus, of gothic graffitis, and I even recognize one sign of the Aryan Brotherhood. So this is a way different world, and you see a great emphasis on music. So this could be an indication that Donna was overshadowed by Ellie's wits. Ellie was the smart person. Ellie was the one who probably had all the success, who was successful in school, who probably even got approval on school, in school and in life, because we have nothing else to measure people with. And given that Sherry had to raise her two siblings all by herself after her husband John died of cancer, so she had not, and Sherry had to work, and she could not approve much of her children anything other than society all have already deemed as fit, have already deemed as successful, and something you should admire and love. And this is success in school, because success in school is still to this very day paves your way to success in your life. So it is more likely that Ellie probably got approval for school, and in her private life she had good notes, she was the teacher's pet. And Donna, in contrast, probably did not have and did not get acknowledged and love through accomplishment. This is how our society still is. So love is randomly or very scarcely unconditional. The only persons who love you unconditionally, the only people who love you unconditionally are your parents, and you will never meet any other love outside of your parents and you will never meet the same love, the same unconditional love you have gotten from your parents, no matter whether you think that you have found a soulmate later in your life, and no matter you think that you some sort of love each other, and if you have been or if your life stories would have been different, you would have found to each other. Again, this is all nonsense. This is not true. However, but one immediately sees, especially these dark themes, one immediately sees that in Donna's room and in her room, everything is in disarray, is unstructured, and that there are a lot of dark themes, and that the dark themes, they are some sort of dominating in the room, which is actually an indication of this burned out child. The burned out child means this woman or this child who did not get and receive attention and love from the society and try to gain that. No matter what it is, children will always try to gain love and support from their parents. This is some sort of innate in children. This is firstly biological, because a child needs to get the love of her parents, because they feed it, they give the child shelter, they protect the child from any wild animals. This is still development, and as well as in parents in return, this is again something innate in human beings, have a special bondage with their children. This is one of the reasons that even psychopaths are not able to hurt children. Of course, there are some dire cases. However, this is in a way innate, and that a child always seeks the love of her parents, but as well as of an authority, because this is some sort of your survival instinct. You always seek the approval of a authority or of a group leader. This is something we have inherited from our ancestors. But what happens if parents have more than one child? This is where things get complicated. This is always the case, even though parents would never say it open, or some do, that they have one child they favor over the others. Yet it is the case. So if parents have more than one child, then one child is always more loved than the others. And you can see here in Donna's room that she was some sort of the left back child. She was that child who could not accomplish that what Ellie had accomplished, and who some sort of grew fatigue. This is something you have to be aware of as well. So this child, this got stumped, this got destroyed and devastated because she had one sibling whom she could not compete with, who was always in her way and who always overshadowed her, so that she and Ellie alone probably got all the love, while the other child did not get any love at all. And this led to her seeking herself. This led to her some sort of being thrown into the darkness and trying to find herself. You can see in Donna's room that she experimented with a lot of dark themes, with a lot of stuff like emos, gothics, groove taste, as well as with the Aryan Brotherhood. This is again another indication occasion that some child, in a way, who did not get love, tries to find an excuse for that, tries to come up with all kinds of explanation, especially explanation who never chide or try not to chide or or in a way debase and demise their parents. The child, mostly children do not make their own parents responsible for not giving them enough love, but rather all others, or other circumstances like foreigners, circumstances like society, like social circumstances. There are a lot of people who think that if capitalism wouldn't have been invented, then they would have gotten love from their parents. And as well as there are people who assume that if there wouldn't have been foreigners who would have stolen their parents, their jobs, or whatever you have, who have bothered their parents, they wouldn't have gotten the love of their parents. This is one thing. And this is what could lead to trying people to rediscover something in them, or some sort of back to the roots, so that they assume if they would have been pure, or if the society would have been led by pure people, whatever this means, pure in the sense of racially pure, then they would have been someone else. They would have accomplished someone else. So either way, these people, either far right or far left, they always claim the system is the issue, because the system did not have enough love for them. The system did not support them at all. It destroyed them. And this is one of the reasons why it is so difficult for them to adjust to society. But as well as these people fear that they some sort of being lost out, or they fear that they are being too stupid to accomplish anything. This is what school marks you as well. It some sort of stamps you as well. If you do not succeed in school, you are scorched for life, and you can have nothing to hope for. And this burns out other people. This destroys their self-confidence of young folks, who then do not know what to do with themselves. And this has a huge influence on your life choices. And what you decide depends mostly of your self-esteem and whether you believe in yourself. Attending college is not a means about wits. It is not that you think that you are smart and so on. No, it is about that you believe in you, that you think that you can do it. And if you have been gotten approval and support in the past by your teachers, if they have supported you and given you the necessary love and self-confidence, as well as if you have received love and self-confidence through your parents, you are more willing to take risks, because even attending a college and withdrawing a huge student loan, even though you may be very smart and you have always been successful in high school or in secondary school, this is still a huge risk, a risk that you could fail, because college is different, university is different. You have to be self-sufficient. You have to think for yourself. Your parents cannot help you anymore, especially if your parents were working class, so they were and have not been, or did not receive much So you are on your own. No one can help you. And there you need to have some self trust and a belief in yourself. And it is easier if you have been approved for certain behavior in the past as well. But if you some sort of have been chided all along, if people have never really believed in you, then this hampers your progress in life, and you rather choose options and solutions and ways and paths in your life so that you do not get disappointed, because this is the worst thing for everyone, especially for a child or a young woman and man who have been scolded and chided in school because they were not able to work in a certain way, because they could not work in a certain way, or they just thought differently in a certain way. So they fear this falling out, and they fear some sort of always being outside, being an outcast. These people rather either develop to be some sort of trying to adopt to everything. These are some of these people then end up having no character and self at all, so they don't have any personality at all. They just want to adapt. They want to adapt to everything so that they do not have to face this scolding, this chiding, or this being outcast. So for these people, it is important to just be part of something, no matter what it is. But you, as long as you are not outside, as long as you are not outside of normal. So these people want to be normal, want to be part of everything, even though if it means that you sacrifice your own self and your own character, your wishes and whatever you have. And the other part is, this is what you see with Donna, those others who could not accomplish their task. So even through adaptation, even through them trying everything to smooth out the difference and be part of this group or the system, whatever you have, they always fell through, especially when they had a sibling which would overshadow them. So Donna couldn't have been normal because Ellie was so smart and she was always measured on Ellie. This is normal. This is what always happens. So if you have one smart sibling, then you always be not measured and compared with your fellow classmates, but no, you will always compared with your sibling. And if your sibling was a genius or very smart, then these things can get really exhausting, because then even if you are normal, if you are normally capable child, if you wouldn't have had this genius in your family, this genius sibling, you would have been part of the group. You maybe would have been even a teacher's pet and so on. But because of this genius, because of this smart woman with whom Donna probably had to compete, she fell through. She was always compared with someone she could not reach, someone with whom she was too different. And people in school and as well as in her life probably only saw her through Ellie, saw the differences and what Ellie was and Donna was not. And this led probably to Donna discovering the dark side of herself, and this dark side is darkness, where she's tortured, where she's left without love, this gothic and emo notions, and this left her scarred. You can see this, and the only place she probably could some sort of compete with Donna was music, because I see a lot of music stuff and as well as a guitar so where you could assume that Ellie probably was not musical. She was not interested in music at all, so that Donna felt comfortable with in this area. But this could lead to hatred. So this could be a pathway to violence, especially later in life. If you see that your sibling in whose shadow you always stood was successful than you are, or was more successful than you are, and you are always being compared with her, with all her successes, that you some sort of go mad in that sense, that you think and assume that you will never reach this standard. You will never reach acknowledgement and love from society because of this ingenious sibling you have, and who garners all the love, and people do not see you as this woman anymore, as this independent woman anymore, but as a minus personality, and they subtract from you what you do not lack, or what you do not have compared to your sibling, and what you lack. And this can be severe enough to commit murder. It could be her. But of course, what speaks against it is that Ellie did not share much with her family. Sherry did not know whether Ellie had a boyfriend or no. Sherry, even in bitterness, admitted that Ellie did not talk much about school and about her life. She only phoned her once a month. This is rare. This is a quite good indication that parents and child were not close. And I asked Donna about Ellie, and Ellie actually never invited Donna to join her in college. There are no photos of Sherry and Donna in the college, and this is something you would see as normal, that someone takes his parents to college or where they study, and especially when the parents have no college education whatsoever, but especially when they have no college degree whatsoever. And this is a great thing. This means a lot if in a working class family one of them is smart enough to go to college. Then this is a big thing, and people normally make a lot of photos and share it all along. But on Ellie's social media account, you don't see anything about it. You don't even see who her mother and sibling is. So Ellie lived a very private life, so she did not share anything with her family. This is all hazy. So who would have wanted to kill Ellie? It could be that Ellie was very arrogant, and her lifestyle and the people she chose indicate quite that maybe Ellie knew about them, and some sort of had a certain air, had a certain attitude where people some sort of start to hate her, did not like being around her. This is some sort of a mean girl, a woman who always likes to subordinate others, who always likes to destroy others, likes to destroy the self-confidence of others, and gains pleasure from it. And then someone may have snapped. Someone maybe had enough. Someone in her surroundings. Someone she might know. Maybe a roommate, whatever. But this is very unlikely. This is unlikely because Ellie, or such a mean person, would have only been developed especially out of a family and social circumstances where they had always had to compete with others, and this was never enough, so that they always have to prove themselves that they are good or smart in demeaning and diminishing others. These people try to prove that they are better than others and they deserve the love of others more than they. But Ellie was the star in her family. Ellie already was seen smarter than Donna, and there are a lot of indications. And Ellie was successful in school. She was probably always treated favorably in school. She was the teacher's pet. She did not had to prove anyone that she's smarter than all others, because she probably through her life got all the love and all the approval and attention because she was smart. So Ellie therefore wouldn't have needed to debase, demean and diminish others just for self pleasure, just for her own mind, and as well as to others, to prove that she is better than them, and therefore she deserves. And in the past, because these things they always refer to the past, she would have been the one who would have deserved the love more than they. This is one phase of sadism. So there is no indication whatsoever why Ellie would have done that. But however, there is a lot of things which are contradictory. Why was Ellie, or why had Ellie such an emphasis on appearance? Why was it? Maybe she wanted to adapt. Maybe she had a secret boyfriend, someone from her upper class whom she wanted to impress. Maybe therefore she did not even invite her mother and her sister to her college graduation ceremony. And this is a big thing. This is because parents normally always attend these ceremonies. This is rather unheard of that students and graduates do not invite their parents to this graduation ceremony. Yet Ellie did not. And maybe she wanted to impress someone from the wealthy class, and they in a way felt a social shame on it, that they did not want that one of their boys, assumably one of their boys, marries a low born, and then one desperate effort was made and then all went south, because it is still open and it is still we still do not know where Ellie was actually heading, what she was up to late at night, and why didn't she tell anyone. So these are big questions we have to ask ourselves. So whom wanted Ellie to impress, and why did she live a secret life?